What's up, guys? As you can see, I'm back in my room. Yay! Okay, so today we're going to talk about the environment. Nothing particular in the news happened recently that wanted me to talk about this. I just thought it was important to talk about because I haven't talked about it before, and there's lots of people on the internet running around with really ignorant theories, and I just want to put down an argument that is not preachy, is not tree huggery, is not just save the whales. You know, that's like the stereotype of people who want to protect the environment and believe that climate change is man-made. So I want to do something different. I'm just going to talk to you on the camera without insults. Okay, I'm going to insult you a little bit. That was a lie. Okay, so basically the point of this argument is that climate change is man-made, and we have to radically change the way we interact with the environment if we want the Earth to be sustainable for a long period of time and for the human race to be able to live on this planet. So, let's start with basic facts. The overwhelming majority of scientists across countries, across cultures, you know, they never talk to each other because they're separated by thousands of miles and they speak different languages and they don't go to the same conferences. All these scientists across the world, and never interact with each other whatsoever, agree that there is climate change and that it is man-made. Now, opponents will say, well, not every single scientist agrees that climate change is man-made or that climate change exists in the first place. Like, yes, that is correct. I'm not denying that. There are always different viewpoints on any subject. Even a subject in America, for example, that is basically it's decided, like, for example, the Holocaust. The Holocaust happened. We know the Holocaust happened. 99.9% of Americans know that the Holocaust happened, but yet there's thousands of people across the Middle East, specifically in Iran, who do not believe the Holocaust exists. So even something that is so fucking concrete that the average Joe Smo, yeah, the Holocaust happened, I know, I read about it, saw pictures, saw videos, whatever. Even that issue has opponents that deny it. So the fact that they bring up that there's a opposing viewpoint to that climate change is real and that it's man-made, it's just like, okay, so fucking what? You pick any fucking issue, there's going to be someone who disagrees with it. So the fact that there are some scientists that don't agree with that premise, that means absolutely nothing to me. I've seen the evidence. I've taken 3, 4... Yeah, I took science all 4 years of high school and the first year of college. Now, people will say, well, that doesn't mean anything. You went to public schools, you went to college, which is liberal leaning, so they just influence you with your BS propaganda. Which, I guess, yeah, that's entirely fucking possible. They could be so fucking goddamn smart that they brainwashed me to believe that this is real, and then they made up all these little facts, you know, and twisted words and twisted studies, whatever. So, but it's just like, I agree that some scientists have ulterior motives when they will say that climate change is real and man-made. But that I can't just apply that to every single scientist that thinks that. I have no idea. How can anyone possibly know that? To get inside the mind of someone and know their motive. You could guess, yeah, there might be some that do that. But to think that every single one does that, it's just like you have no fucking way of proving that. You have absolutely no way of proving that. So this is why the argument is just nonsense. I've studied science for many years. I've looked at the hard data. I've done experiments. You know, I've looked at all these charts, you know, just for years and years and years, and I can come to no other conclusion. Even when I am approaching it with skepticism, because I'm like, okay, you know, these people who wrote this, they're liberals, they might have ulterior motive, you know, so I always have that back in my head whenever I am reading these things, but still, despite that, I can come to no other conclusion because the data points to nothing else. The opponents of believing that climate change is real and that it's man-made are, not all of them, but a lot of them are opponents and very ignorant of many other scientific issues, like the flat earthers, or believing that the Earth is only 4,500 years old, or that evolution is not real. Like, many people who deny that climate change is real and that is man-made also believe these things. Not all of them. Again, I just think hashtag not all. I think I say that in like half my videos, so then people won't say, well, I don't believe climate change is man-made, but I don't believe those other things, so ha, you're wrong. It's just like, hashtag not all opponents of climate change, but a lot of them are. So this is the camp that you are associated with. these are the people that are going to be on your side. And it's just like, well, you're so fucking dead wrong on these other scientific issues. You know, I don't really trust that they're right. They don't know anything about science because they're so dead wrong on these issues. So it really makes me skeptical that they're right on this one. An argument that is against that climate change is real, or that it's man-made, will say that, oh, the scientists are just saying that so they get more funding. Okay, I want to see a study that empirically shows that if a scientific lab or scientist or famous scientist, whatever, says that, then that automatically means he or she gets more funding. I mean, it's possible, yes, that saying this will get you more funding, but to think that happens every single time, the scientists just, you know, scheming in their lab and say, hey guys, we're going to say this even though it's not true, and then we can get more money, so then we can do more bullshit. Hypothetically, yes, that's possible. That is not outside the realm of possibility, but think that every single scientist does that, knowing that there is a 100% chance that they're going to get more funding if they say these things. You know, that's just, again, there is no fucking way you can know that. These arguments against it are just absolutely ludicrous. They think they can know what scientists do behind closed doors, every single one of them, and they know what's going on in their heads, every single one of them. I mean, it's just, or you could look at the data and come to your own conclusion, like I did. They said believing all of these weird crackpot conspiracy theories. So we already talked about the potential motives of scientists that say that climate change is man-made and that's real. We're going to talk about the motives of people who disagree with that. I know these type of people who deny it. I know the way they think. A lot of them are right-leaning, and lots of them are, unfortunately, libertarianism, whichever I have to counter that. I know their motive. I know the way these people think. They want to make a quick buck by destroying the earth, killing habitats, killing animals, destroying the rainforest, all these things. They want to do that to make a quick buck. They are a slave to making a profit. Old school Republicans and libertarians, that is their ultimate goal, is to make as much money as possible. Unfortunately, libertarianism doesn't say a lot about the environment because it's mostly focused about human rights and the interactions between the civilians and the government. So it really doesn't say anything. So when people look at it and they're like, to make as much money as possible, well, if I destroy the environment really fast and don't sustainably take care of it or sustainably get resources, then that means that I make less money. These people, they're really narrow-minded. They're short-sighted, they're self-centered, don't have empathy, because what they do is that they say, okay, which action will make me the most amount of money, and they don't take into consideration anything else, like is it going to destroy the environment, is going to destroy the native population, is going to kill off these species. They don't care. All they think about is how to make the most amount of money in the quickest way possible, which in a capitalist society is good to an extent. You can't disregard every single other thing and then only focus on making money, because if people thought that way, if governments thought that way, then I'm walking down the street and it's like, I want money. Here's this person with money. I'm going to punch him and rob him and take his money. I'm not looking at the fact that I'm taking away his right to property and assaulting him, doing all these crimes in order to get money. No, that doesn't enter the equation at all. All I think about is that I want money, this action will get me more money, so therefore I will do it. And that's how short-sighted they are. They are such a slave to profits and money that they don't take anything else into consideration. And that's why these companies have no problem just going into the rainforest and destroying the environment, killing off thousands of species. We have killed off so many species just in the recent amount of human history because we just don't give a flying fuck. And the people who stand up for the animals are not in positions of power. The animals can't defend themselves. They're not strong enough. They're not smart enough. So it is just... So, okay. Let's say, after all this, you still don't believe in climate change, or that it's man-made. Okay, let's just take that all out of the equation. We're going to do something very simple, a very specific problem, and that's about the bees. You always hear about if the bees die out, then the humans will die out because of... Look it up on Google, okay? The functions that bees do ensure that we are able to live on this planet. So when we're talking about global climate change or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere or the ozone layer or anything like that, we're just talking about the actions that the humans are doing across the world that are killing off the environments that the bees live in and killing them off so the bees are endangered species, whatever. just looking at that issue alone, you have to agree that we have to change the way we interact with the environment if we want to live, because if we kill off the bees, then we're all fucking dead. So you don't have to believe. Let's just say you don't. Whatever. It's really annoying because you just look at the science and look it up, but I don't know how you could possibly look at the fact that if you just look it up on Google, how the bees ensure that humans live. And it's just like, no, I'm going to continue to support politicians and policies that destroy the bees' environment and make them unable to do the functions that they do in order for us to live, because I don't give a shit. By the time they die off, I will be dead, and I would have made my quick buck destroying their environment and killing them off. So it's just like, how little to no empathy do you have to think, you know what, I don't give a shit about the future generations. I don't care about my grandkids or my grandkids, whatever, as long as I want to make my quick buck so I can buy more fucking shit right here, right now. So I don't care about the bees. These people are unable to put themselves in other people's shoes. If I was going to be born 100, 200 years from now, I would have hoped that my ancestors had a big enough fucking goddamn brain to be looking at all this data. It's like, guys, we're killing the planet. We need to radically turn around lots of these policies and the way we interact with the environment if we want our future grandkids to be able to live on this planet. And they're like, well, I don't give a shit. I just want money. And so then I'm living 100, 200 years later in this shit storm of a planet. It's just like, my ancestors were so fucking stupid. They were just so narrow-minded that all they care about is money. I'm one of the few libertarians who believe that climate change is real and is man-made and we need to change policies. They will say, well, the U.S. doesn't contribute the most to the carbon dioxide and the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that creates climate change. And it's just like, again, where do you get these rules from that if we're not the #1 contributor to this, and that means we won't have to do anything? It's China and India's. Yes, they have to do things too. We have to pressure them to not continue the policies they're doing and destroying the environment and killing off all these important species. It's not just the U.S.'s fault. I never said that. Never did it. Never gonna say it. So don't put words in my mouth. The U.S. contributes a lot, not the most, but a lot. So we need to cut back on what we do and pressure other nations to do the same. Like, for example, we give India foreign aid. We're not going to give you foreign aid if you are doing things that are in conjunction with other countries' policies, destroying the human race. I don't want my tax money to go to that. China is a whole different issue. China, I believe we shouldn't have any economic ties with them at all. I know it's a radical thing to say, and it's really outside the scope of this video, but in a nutshell, I don't believe that we should do trade with countries that repress their own citizens or other countries' citizens, because when we do trade with them, they tax those transactions, and the government gets the money in order to buy more guns, more security forces, more tanks and planes to oppress their own citizens, more secret security forces, secret police forces, to train them how to torture their own civilians. I don't want my tax money to indirectly fund that. So I know it would be a very radical thing to do to separate economic ties with China and other nations that do similar things, like Russia and Saudi Arabia. It would have to be in stages. You can't just cut it off at once, because then that will crash the economy because we're too interconnected. It's in phases. Phase out the economic ties over time, slowly, so then people are not economically hurt, society doesn't collapse, the economy doesn't collapse. That's what we need to do to other countries. So they're like, well, if we want to trade with the U.S., we have to cut back of our CO2 emissions. That's an incentive. We're pressuring them. If we want to do trade with this awesome country that has this huge economy and all these goods and services to offer, then we need to do what they are doing and do these certain, it's outside the scope of this video to do every single little thing we need to do in order to protect the environment. But the general thing, cut back CO2 emissions, stop burning down the rainforest so fucking quickly, use recyclable products. Like, they can make paper that's almost completely recyclable of other papers. So you put in this technology so eventually we use so little paper, so we have to cut so little trees in order to make paper, for example, stuff like that. Lastly, opponents of this argument will say, well, the Earth's gotten hotter in the past, so it couldn't be. It could be man-made, or it could be just in the natural way that the Earth is moving. You know, it's done this several times over its long history. It's gotten hotter or colder. And it's just like, yes, that is true, but at the rate it's going right now, it's not even comparable to the past times. Past times it has gotten hotter or colder. It has done it over millions and millions of years. All these changes of the early Earth before life formed happened really, really, really slow. That even in a human's lifetime, you wouldn't see any change at all. That's how slow the change is. It will be several hundred generations of humans in order to notice the slightest difference in these changes of temperature. And, you know, there was one point in time where the whole planet was covered in snow, you know, whatever. So yes, that is true. That has gotten hot or colder in the past, naturally, without man-made influences, but it's just not even on the same scale. The planet is getting hotter in a matter of decades. The last 3 years, correct me if I think it's 2 or 3, the last 2 or 3 years happen to be the hottest on record. You know, the global temperature is rising way too fucking quickly in a matter of decades or hundreds of years. Way faster than millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions of years. There's no way the Earth can naturally get that fast. Our actions have to be contributing to it because it physically cannot do it on its own. So in conclusion, I don't think that asking the government to intervene, to change policies and put new policies in place is a violation of libertarianism in regards to making the environment sustainable for future human generations. I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, it's just like, can you imagine, you know, just thinking it's like, okay, we need to do these things so then our future generations live. And it's just like, well, taxation is theft. And if the government is a solution, then you're asking the wrong question. Government's never a solution. And it's just like, you don't have to politicalize it. I can't believe that you are saying, because of these random phrases that you say, and you think the government's always wrong, then you are willing to condemn the whole human race to die because the government doing these changes would violate my rights or make me less money. I can't believe that the government would put these policies in place to protect the environment, but indirectly it would lessen my profit because I can't do these certain things that are harmful to the environment to make a quick profit, you know? So I can't believe, like, just how self-centered you have to be. You're taking away a little bit of my profit in order for the planet to survive, and you think you're on the right side of this issue and that the government is oppressing you by doing this. I mean, wow, dude. Yeah, money is nice, but being able to breathe on this planet and not fry, that's also pretty fucking important too.